Sony has been a mainstay in the world of smartphones for a number of years now, and despite seemingly repeating calls for it to just give up, it continues on just doing its own thing, and there's quite a lot to admire about that. It's safe to say it doesn't do things the same way as its competitors, and that's seen it adopt this long 21:9 ratio in recent years, and it's a move that's both brave and kind of cool. At the very least, it means the company's devices are easy to pick out from the crowd. And if I'm honest, I love this glassy slab of glossiness. I'm Cam Bunton from Pocket-lint, and this is my review of the Xperia 1 II. So despite the rest of the market moving over to in-display fingerprint sensors, Sony's gone with the side-mounted sensor that's built into the power sleep button. And despite many other manufacturers failing at building it this way reliably, my experience with the Sony has been really solid. It's quick and reliable, and it works. Plus, it's in the right spot for my right thumb. Perhaps not exactly ideal if you're left-handed though. While I love the simple, effective design, I have noticed that the glass on the front seems particularly prone to being scratched. But still, while it looks like this right-angled flat device, look closely and you'll see some subtle curving up to the edges. That helps the phone feel a bit more comfy in the hand than it would if it was completely right-angled and sharp. In a lot of ways, what will make this phone appealing to some buyers is that it's attempting to show off Sony's expertise in the world of video and camera and audio. For instance, it has a 3.5mm input port, plus the phone supports Dolby Atmos and DSEE audio upscaling. It even has the dual front-firing speakers, so whether you're listening to the phone through wired headphones, wireless headphones, Bluetooth speakers, or just through the phone's own loudspeakers, it's gonna sound fantastic. Add that to a display that, despite going over the top in terms of resolution, is actually a very good platform for watching movies on, providing you find some with a really long aspect ratio, like cinema quality movies. Now, Sony put a 4K display in the Sony Xperia 1 II, and for the most part it seems to be there just for mostly bragging rights, because most mobile focused content just isn't available in 4K. And even if it is in 4K, it doesn't always make the most of that long display because it's usually a 16:9 or 18:9 ratio. But what's more important here though is the high dynamic range support. As such, the expanded range between the brightest whites and the deepest blacks look great on this wide display. Head over to a Netflix original movie, which are mostly in a longer aspect ratio and in HDR, and that's where this phone delivers its best visual performance. You get similarly impressive performance when it comes to apps and games loading too. It might only come with a 60Hz display, which actually in our opinion is perfectly good for a phone display, but the Snapdragon 865 processor inside means you get fast game and app loading speeds too. Plus, as well as a generous 256GB of storage, you get expandable storage via a micro SD card slot. So all in all, it offers a lot in that regard. Battery life is maybe where you're going to notice a tiny bit of a struggle though, but even that is fine. It'll get to the end of most working days, even busy ones. It just tends to be lacking a little in terms of leftover juice compared to a lot of other flagships. A lot of that is down to the comparatively low 4000 mAh capacity and the extra pixels on the display. Still, you do get relatively fast charging, plus the convenience of using a wireless charger if you have one. Like the sound and display, Sony is making a play for professionals with its camera apps too, giving something for the tech aficionados who know all about their shutter speeds, frame rates, ISO ranges, exposure and whatever other metric and control you want in its Pro Creator camera and videography apps. Of course, you can just use the standard app too, but we have to say the results are a little bit inconsistent from the Sony camera. There's a trio of 12-megapixel sensors packed into the camera unit on the rear of the phone, covering the main, ultra-wide and telephoto cameras. The fourth sensor is a time-of-flight sensor designed to speed up focusing. In general shooting terms, that seems to do pretty well, as this phone will focus quickly, and it's also fast to find faces or eyes to focus on, helping you get the important stuff sharp. And the main camera itself is pretty good performance-wise as well. Show it a good scene with decent light and you'll get some great pictures from it. Sony's emphasis is on realism, and the color reproduction is more accurate than most rivals. There isn't the same sense of AI boosting, and while that has downsides, the HDR performance is a little weak as an example, you can get a shot where the sky is the correct shade of blue out of this phone. But then the camera is also prone to some lens flare. Point the camera anywhere towards the sun, and you might start noticing these little rainbows or arcs on your photos when you look at them afterwards. We're not exactly sure what role Zeiss had in putting this camera together, but we're surprised how easy it is to get the extreme lens flare. Again, it just means that the camera is a little bit less useful than the rivals. Then there's the basic camera app as well. There's no way to smoothly zoom between the 3 individual cameras. You have to tap on the icon on the screen. Dragging just digitally zooms on whichever camera you happen to be using at that time. So Sony's biggest problem with the Xperia 1 II is that it tries to pitch this phone to a discerning pro photographer market. A market we're not really sure exists when it comes to smartphones. The camera system doesn't embrace mass market appeal, the app doesn't make great sense, and that's a shame because it detracts from the overall experience. This is a phone that has a great display visually, a great build, great sound and plenty of power for the latest apps and games. If you're the sort of person who watches a lot of movies on your phone, then that 21:9 display, free from notches and other nonsense, really shines. Now the Xperia 1 II isn't a bad phone. In fact, despite all of its quirks and lumpiness, I actually really like it. I've been Cam, I'm at Cam Bunton on Twitter. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up, and if you want to see more, hit subscribe. And I'll see you again in the next one. Bye for now.